we talk about love, we talk about love that is old, an old love. Old love in the sense that a love that was not received when it was supposed to be received. It could be caused by death, mothers dying when mothers dying and leaving their children, or fathers dying and leaving their children. And in Africa, in Nigeria, in all parts of the world, it is very prevalent. It is very common that parents die and leave their children. I mean, nobody plans to die, but things happen. And so that gap has been opened. And because we don't even understand the concept of love, we can't understand the concept of love that is old, love that is not given. So a lot of our elders try to snatch it, they try to take it forcefully. For example, they try to wife or daughterfy or motherfy female public servants. I've served in public and I still do sometimes. I have served food to grown men. And while it is our job to smile, and we also do the back end work, we do the cooking, the cleaning, the everything, that the whole process, the washing of the beans, the grinding of the beans, the making of the moi moi. While we have done all that strenuous work behind the scenes, we are still expected as good children, as good girls, as nice women, are still expected to somehow cater to the love needs of these men and women, very rarely, that have been owed love. So you're not just serving a plate of food and smiling on your very low sleep, because we have to rise up early, after personal work and school work. You're not just serving people food, you're expected to serve love. And while we understand that, oh, most of these men do not have happy homes, or most of these men lost their mothers, it is one thing to request it very forcefully in a very demeaning manner, and it's another thing to ask politely for it, because we finished serving the food and then you want to hold us down for 15 more minutes talking about your issues and talking about why the rice is the way it is and why the meat is the way it is. And most people will say, cook well now, but it's not even about the food. It's that they don't have ears that listen to them. So when they come to public spaces where they can exercise that authority, they take it very forcefully. And in all this smoke going on, it is just because they are not loved enough. But how would you explain to a PhD holder who has 3 houses in Lekki and who has 2 children abroad that he is owed love? Are you mad? Have you done a PhD before? You can't try that. Who are you, small girl, serving in this small shop? What do you know about love? So it's those things. And mind you, we have people over the counter that are waiting to be served, but for some reason, because they are the Lord's favorites, Unwan Jesus, we have to wait there and ignore the people that are to be served, because they are the kings of the earth. So, and most times, because it's good to observe, and I try to observe, most times these people, you find out they do not have happy homes. They do not like their wives. Maybe their mother left them when they were 2, or their mothers didn't give them sweet food. So that attention, that gap is there. That old love, that love that should be there, that motherly love that should have been present, or love from parents that should have been present, is gone. So they try to suck it from where they can, where they have power over. And when you're not a very nice girl, when you're not very accommodating of that behavior, they snap. They become abusive with their words and they become violent. And when you raise a complaint, as a good woman, you have to be gracious. You cannot have a minute without being gracious. When you complain, you are told that You're complaining too much. You're talking too much. And the first question a typical Nigerian will ask you is, did they beat you? Because God forbid abuse is not physical in Nigeria. God forbid they cannot see the wound on your body. So they assume that it's not that serious. But anyway, that is why we are majorly very angry people. But these are the issues. These are the issues. This is why we should read about love. So when we understand, we can maybe act very politely. An example of acting very politely is secondary school. You know, when you bring food to secondary school, that's when you know children that are not well fed by their parents. They could have all the money, but snacks can only do so much. There's something about food. There's something about cooked food. I don't understand the science, the logic, the spirituality behind cooked food, but there's something about freshly made home cooked food. So when you bring food to school and your food is very delicious, you're going to find out students that are not loved correctly at home. You hear polite askings like, can I eat with you? Can you bring food for me tomorrow? My house, I don't like the way my parents cook. I don't like it. The meat is big, but it's not sweet. Your meat is small, but it's sweet. And so the next day, I did it. My siblings did it as well. So the next day, we bring food to school and we bring more than one spoon. And you see everybody's head in the cooler and everybody's trying to scavenge and fetch their own. And at the end of the day, you have fed 4 hefty boys in SS2 and 2 girls willing to join. And in that very moment, they forget that they have parents that don't cook well. They forget that they have parents that they don't enjoy their food. That gap of parental care, of old love, has been covered because they have politely asked. They have not dragged my spoon from my hand expecting me to just give them my cooler just because they don't have parents that feed them well, that feed them food that they like. So is this nuance, is this small things, is this very little things that a lot of African elders are not willing to learn? The typical African man will rather brag about having a PhD in economics than brag about knowing how to love correctly. And God, how dare you, God forbid you say you need to learn how to love. How dare you? Have you written a thesis before? And you wake up in a Monday morning, go into that kind of a space, ready to serve. You have prayed to God for the day to not let temptation befall you. But as you're stepping out and going there, temptation is waiting at the door because there is a hefty 64-year-old man with well-polished shoe, and one would think, well-meaning, good-looking, one would think that, if you speak politely and be nice and serve, because that's what you're meant to do, and clean the tables, one would think that all is well, but all is not well. And I advise that we stop harboring this behavior. I advise that it is called out, and when you have stated very assertively that you don't like the way you are being treated in those situations, and it's better to be shunned. Because it's funny, that man writing or that woman writing that PhD thesis, his supervisor or her supervisor, they are not usually the kindest, but somehow they are mellow when they go to them. They are mellow. This is my thesis, so please help me mark it. They are so mellow, and you have to hold your chin and say, is this the same person that I politely stated my displeasures and I was shunned? And the next thing is, this Gen Z self, you people don't have respect. So you respect someone that is flinging your thesis over the table because you desperately need to learn that thesis. You desperately need it to be approved. You will swallow it. But it comes to where I'm politely asking to be spoken to with respect. And suddenly, this generation. So you much rather I shout. And as the nice girl I am, as a very respectful, gracious woman on a Monday morning, after cracking my brain on what to write for my project. I mean, can't you see the medals I have? Look at. Medals for being a nice, gracious woman. This one I got it on the 17th of February. This one I got it on the 6th of March, I think. And the rest, you can make up the date by yourself. You can guess. So please state your displeasures very politely, but very assertively. Because if we do not stop these behaviors, it is going to continue and it is very damaging. Please love someone today. Just